Hey, Retcon Raider.
Yeah?
Are you a robot?
Reply hazy. Ask again later.
Hi everyone, Revenant here. I want to introduce you to one of my oldest friends, Retcon Raider. He has a channel, appropriately named Retcon Raider, and produces some great content. Right now, you're seeing a bit of Raider's archive. He's been collecting, reading, and knowing way too much about gaming for decades now, and this library doesn't even count what he has in storage. He often spends entire days researching and producing videos for his channel. So how does he do all this? Well, he isn't joking about his dangerously high intake of energy drinks. He's not sponsored by Monster. Actually, I'm pretty sure he's sponsoring them. So now that you've gotten a quick glimpse of Raider's lair, let's talk about his computer upgrade. Since Raider has begun recording, he's been using an older Intel i5 3570K. It featured a 3rd generation Ivy Bridge architecture, 4 cores with 4 threads, and a boost clock of up to 3.8 GHz. Unfortunately, while this was fine for 2012, modern games can chew through up to a dozen threads or more, and the i5 3570K just is not a good choice for modern video editing. And the rest of his computer is a hodgepodge of leftover and outdated parts. Most of them were formerly mine. 24 gigs of DDR3, SATA SSD, Toshiba hard drive, and a GeForce GTX 970, all attached to an LCD monitor that, this thing looks like it's out of the 90s. Seriously, the viewing angles on the original Game Boy, look glorious in comparison. So what do we get to replace it? These are the parts we chose for Raider's build. Raider spent months saving money and buying them while they were on sale, so not a single Patreon dollar was wasted. For the CPU, we went with the Intel i9-9900K. Now this is just about the fastest gaming CPU you can get today, and it also does a really good job encoding. It has a single-core turbo speed of 5 GHz and all-core turbo of 4.7 GHz. Plus, it has something that Raider uses a lot while he's doing Adobe work, a built-in QuickSync iGPU. This gives Adobe Premiere a big boost in speed for Raider's particular workload. For the GPU, we went with an RTX 2070 Super. This Gigabyte WindForce model shuts its fans off below 50 degrees centigrade and boosts to about 1950 MHz under gaming load. This puts it in the realm of RTX 2080s while being incredibly quiet. The RTX cores give a big boost to Raider's Adobe work and, well, it allows him to play with the latest ray tracing tech. Since he games at 1080p on a 120Hz G-Sync monitor, using a balanced card like the 2070 Super allowed us to put money elsewhere into the system, where it could be used for other workloads or improving reliability. For the mainboard, we went with Form over Flash, and selected the Gigabyte Ors Pro Wi-Fi. It uses the latest Intel Z390 chipset and supports dual M2 NVMe drives. It also has Intel LAN and wireless, plus the latest USB ports. More importantly though, it has a very good VRM setup. It's 6 phases, doubled to 12, with an additional phase for the integrated GPU. The heat sinks on the VRMs are some of the larger ones, and that'll help keep the system stable during long encoding, rendering, and gaming sessions. For the RAM, we went with the tried, tested, and awesome-looking G-Skill Trident Z. 2 sticks of DDR4 3200 in dual channel for a total of 32 GB of RAM. This will be a major boost over Raider's previous setup of 24 gigs of DDR3 1600. Raider's SSD is a 2TB Corsair MP510 NVMe. It uses the powerful but inexpensive Phison E12 controller. Read speeds are around 3500 megabytes per second, and write are about 2700 megabytes per second. This makes it up to 7 times faster than his old drive. The MP510 is backed up by 2 Toshiba X300 5TB hard drives. They spin at 7200 RPM and have 128 megabytes of cache. This should provide plenty of bulk storage for his video editing, Steam drives, or anything else he wants to store on his computer. Last, but certainly not least, Raider's computer will have a Corsair RM850X power supply. This is one of the best reviewed and tested power supplies on the market, and it includes hybrid fan technology to reduce noise. It uses premium parts for high reliability and is more than powerful enough for his entire system. Okay, so let's first start with a little 3D Mark benchmarking. Raider's system passed with 100% stability and posted a TimeSpy score of 10,106. This puts him in about the top 10% of all computers benchmarked, and that's without even overclocking. Moving on to Battlefield 5, Raider's system was able to pump out a locked 60 frames per second ultra settings at 1080p with ray tracing set to ultra. And wow, does that ray tracing actually look good. I mean, I was no help to my team because I was just too busy looking at these awesome glossy reflections. Just look at the way the windows reflect in the marble in real time. I mean, you can see the clouds, the skies, the bullets coming to kill you. Absolutely stunning. Switching back to DirectX 11, so I'm actually doing something, his new computer played at a locked 120 frames per second at 1080p Ultra. If you haven't tried the new Soul Calibur game, you need to. It runs on the Unreal Engine and is a blast to play. The engine itself is limited to 60 frames per second, but Raider's PC had no trouble maintaining a locked 60 frames per second ultra settings at 4K resolution. Now, Quantum Break is an older title, but it's one that can still bring a modern PC to its knees. It has very high detailed textures, lighting effects, particles, and animation. Raider's PC had no trouble playing at a locked 60 frames per second, ultra settings at 1080p. And finally, here's XCOM 2. Raider did a great series for this game, and it's worth watching and playing. XCOM 2 is a very different use of the Unreal Engine compared to Soul Calibur. The footage here is running at 1080p, ultra settings, with MSAA set to 4 times. It ran really well. I can't say locked because, well, the engine just doesn't do that. Now, as far as this Overwatch ambush, well, let's just say I don't play as well as Raider does. I guess that's what you get when you get your commanders from a tube of goo. So, to sum things up, compared to his old system, Raider's PC now has a CPU with twice the cores and 4 times the threads. It has twice the memory bandwidth, an SSD that's 7 times faster and 4 times bigger, double the hard drive space, and a GPU that can be up to 300% faster than his old one. All of this is while running nearly silently. Plus, while we didn't show it, we also upgraded Raider to a new G-Sync monitor running at 120Hz at 1080p. Now keep in mind that this video was meant to be just a fun look at a friend's system, so don't use it as a definitive build guide. Your use case may vary. Ryzen 3000 series wasn't even out when we put together this system, and you should definitely check out AMD's latest chips. That said, for Raider, this new rig is putting up some great frame rates for his games and doing a great job for his Adobe work. With that, I'm out. Head over and check out Retcon Raider's channel. Links are in the description. See you next time. There was one thing up there and you knocked it off.
Well, why did you put one thing there if you didn't want him to knock it off?